Hello everyone, this is for section P5 for pre-calc. Remember when you're solving equations involving inequalities, you're still using PEMDAS. You're still starting at the bottom and then doing as you work up it. So subtract the 2, divide by 3, x is greater than 5/3. And then to graph it, remember when it doesn't have an equal sign with it, it has an open circle. X is greater than, so you're going to shade to the right. If it was written 5/3 less than x, remember this is exactly the same thing. Read it from the letter. X is greater than 5/3. So be careful when you're working with inequalities at this stage or at this level of math that don't get tricked by. Some kids memorize it as you shade the direction it's pointing right, so you shade right. It's pointing left, so you shade left. Well, no, read from the letter. X is greater than 5/3, so greater than is to the right. Okay, this one, it's double-sided. Okay, meaning that if you had this much, what would you do first? You'd subtract the 2. Well, okay, well, what if you had this much? You'd start by subtracting the 2. Okay, well, just start by subtracting the 2 then. Minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. So you have minus 6 less than or equal to 3x less than or equal to, what would that be, 6? Then divide everybody by 3. Negative 2x and 2. Then to graph it on a number line, if there's negative 2, there's 2. It has an equal sign, so you put a closed circle on both of them. And x is between them, so you shade between them. Okay, that would be your final answer. X is greater than, so you're shading this direction, negative 2. X is less than 2, so you're shading this way. That's just another way to look at it. So again, you're shading between them. All right, these arrows really wouldn't be a part of it. I'm just doing that to illustrate the point. Okay, here's another double-sided one. You're dividing by 5, so I think the place to start is you start by multiplying everybody by 5. So you have negative 10 less than 2x plus 3 less than or equal to 30. Then subtract the 3 from everybody. So you have negative 13 less than 2x less than 27. Then divide, equal to, then divide by 2. So negative 6.5 less than x less than or equal to 13.5. And it's between it, but this time one of them has an open circle and the other one has a closed. And you're shaded between them. All right. Remember that when you guys divide across an inequality with a negative number or multiply across, the inequality has to turn around. Okay. It's called change the sense of the inequality. It has to change directions. Okay, when you have absolute values, the long and the short of it is the first time around you just take the bars off. Second time around you take the bars off and make what's on the other side negative, and then solve both of these. Now I want to look at why are you making this other side negative. Well, if you guys had 5 and you took the absolute value of it, you just get 5. But what if you take the absolute value of negative 5? You also get 5. But what is happening between here and there? You're actually introducing another negative to force that sucker to come out positive. So what you're doing is, first you're assuming what's in here is positive. So you just take the bars off and leave it alone. Second time around, you're assuming what's in here is negative. The value of everything inside is negative. So you actually are introducing another negative to turn all of that positive. You could distribute this inside and get negative 2x minus 10 equals 5 and solve from there. But rather than distributing it inside, how about you just divide it out? And there you go. 2x plus 10 equals negative 5. That's where the negative 5 is coming from. Right? It's coming from you're assuming what's in here is negative, so you introduced a negative, then you got rid of the negative, and it's over there. You can continue to jump right to these two stages. I just feel it's important at this level of math that you guys understand why you're doing what you're doing. Subtract the 10, so you have 2x is equal to negative 5. negative 5 halves. Subtract the 10. 2x is equal to negative 15. Divide by 2. Negative 15 halves. So there are your two answers for it. One like this. So you take the bars off. And when you take, so you assumed it was positive, you just took the bars off. Second time, you're assuming what's in there was negative, and you're going to move the negative to the other side. So remember, the inequality has to turn around. So subtract the 10, divide by 2, subtract the 10, divide by 2, and if you look at this on a number line, negative 8 goes left, negative 2 goes right. They both have an equal sign, so they're both closed. X is greater than negative 2, so we're shading right. X is less than negative 8, so you shade left. When they're shaded apart, you have to put the word or between them. That's your final answer right there, with the word or. If they were shaded together, you'd put the word and. Right? Take the bars off. Take the bars off. Turn the inequality around and make what's on the other side negative. Subtract the 10. Divide by 2. Did I make a mistake? Well, I did, but that's not the mistake I was looking for. Let me keep going a second here. Subtract the 10. No, I'm okay. X greater than negative 9. So when you go to graph it on the number line, negative 9 is there, negative 1 is there. They're both open circles. X is less than negative 1, so you shaded left. X is greater than negative 9, so you shaded right, so you shaded between them, so you have the word and in between it. The other way you can write this is X. Your X is between them. Negative 9 on the left, negative 1 on the right. You can write it this way or this way. Notice this written, when it's written this way, it means and. You can't write an or statement this way. It's not allowed. The other thing I want to bring up before I jump to the next screen, if you guys had minus 10 in there, when you go to set it up, you're just taking the bars off. You don't change the sign of what's inside. In the second one, again, you just take the bars off, turn the inequality around, and make what's on the other side negative. You don't mess with what's inside the inequality. Even if that was like a negative 2, you wouldn't change the sign of anything inside. That's not how you do it. Okay? All right, here. Doesn't an absolute value make something positive? So how could it ever be worth something less than something negative? It doesn't make sense. It's a nonsensical question. All right? This one here, I think that this is a nonsensical question too. Now, you can solve both of these, but they're not going to work. Okay, now go ahead and do this. Plus 10 less than or equal to negative 4. We don't even have to do the second one. We'll just do it with this one to show you that it's goofy. Subtract the 10. Divide by 2. So pick me a number less than or equal to negative 7. How about negative 8? Put negative 8 in there. Negative 16 plus 10, that's negative 6 in absolute value. That's 6. How can 6 be less than or equal to negative 4? That's just weird. Okay, 2x plus 10 greater than or equal to negative 3. So 2x greater than or equal to negative 13. Because I subtracted the 10. X greater than or equal to, divide by 2, negative 6.5. So how about negative 7? Take negative 7, put it in there. Now, this is going to work, but I still think the question is goofy. How could this absolute value be greater than something negative? So we'll just keep going. So put the negative 7 in, negative 14 plus 10. You're an absolute value, so it's negative 4 in absolute value. Is 4 greater than or equal to negative 3? Yeah, it is. So yes, this one can be solved. I'm just not enjoying the question, I guess. This one definitely cannot be solved. It totally doesn't make sense. This is always going to return something positive. How could it be less than something negative? It doesn't. Okay. So how do you know which one's going to work when you get to do your work, which one won't? I would personally say this one, just remember, it says less than something negative, it's not going to work. Greater than something negative, the reason I'm balking at it is because how could the absolute value ever, it's always going to return you a positive answer. Okay, I'm not saying that the number that you're filling in here has to be positive. I'm just saying that this will always return something that's positive, so it's always going to be giving you an answer out here. You're never going to get -2, you're never going to get -1, which would be larger than -3. So I guess it's just in part, I just don't like the way it's phrased. But that's me. I'll get off it. Let you guys do your work. There you go. Homework done.